Someone needs to stop me from overreacting to North Dakota State's schedule release. Sort of.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, the number one sports podcast network out there. Thank you all, especially my everydayers, for helping make that the case. Chandler Morris wants more time in college football. I'm going to be Debbie Downer on the second segment of today's show. I'm just going to warn you guys about that now. I might be double downer. This could be one of the most negative episodes after this first segment because I don't know if there's a surprise in the Big 12. Or could there be? This episode brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So the reason I said sort of in the cold open to today's show is we don't know the order yet, and the order matters a great deal. So I'm going to reserve full judgment, and I'm going to keep myself from hopping on board the train. And some of you need to just straight up tell me in the comments, Spencer, you're being crazy. Spencer, the brand bias is far too real. Maybe I'm just looking at that Bison logo going, they just win. It's what they do. They're the new James Madison. They're going to a higher level of football in the Mountain West than the Sun Belt. But JMU did it. They jumped up. They started winning right away, immediately. The home road splits for North Dakota State here in their first season in the Mountain West are indeed pretty wild. But I look at the games they have at home and go, I kind of think they're going unbeaten at home in conference play. And if you can do that, splitting on the road and making your way to the conference championship game in your first year in the league, it just doesn't seem all that crazy. And what a story this would be. Does it put North Dakota State into the college football playoff discussion? Never say never. Right? You can't rule it out. It's possible. But I tell you what, immediately, this is the beauty. Let's take a step back and go big picture here for a moment, because realignment has shaken up the sport down to its very core. The inherent beauty of what you have with the Pac-12's 8-team football conference and a flex schedule at the end of the regular season, and the Mountain West with a 10-team football conference for this year, you don't miss big games very often. There have been years, especially in the expansionist era, where Georgia and Alabama don't play. That has happened in the regular season, which is patently absurd. Common complaint you hear in college football today. Well, there's too much television influence. Well, if television is so influential, how are Alabama and Georgia not playing every year? Anyway, the beauty of a 10-game conference schedule is that North Dakota State only gets to miss one team. Just one. And this year, it's San Jose State. That's actually a scheduling disadvantage a bit, because their quarterback, he get transferred over to Duke. He's going to play for the Blue Devils. Might talk about him on an upcoming episode of the show. They're coming off a 3-9 season. San Jose State has had moments where they have flashed up, but then, it's not a program that sustains winning consistently. So that's one you'd like to play. But the home games for North Dakota State, the teams that will have to go into that fantastic environment that the Bison faithful, I bet, will be fired up for. Nevada, NIU, UTEP, and Wyoming. I'm going to call my shot right now. I think North Dakota State will be favored in all 4 of those games. Doesn't mean they'll win them all. I bet you our friends at FanDuel will favor the Bison in all 4. And I think they can win all 4. So then your attention turns, of course, to the away games. Now, this is where it gets tricky. This will be the real measuring stick for how far North Dakota State has to go. Because when you've had a program with a head coach, by the way, who has done a lot of winning in charge of the football team, when you have a town that understands what it means to support them in the right way, when the administration knows if they have the ability on the field with the players they're going to have coming into this year, they're losing their quarterback, of course, maybe to the NFL draft. North Dakota State's never been a program that has been defined by elite quarterback play. They've had some great ones, but what I mean is they're not quarterback dependent. That's not what makes them go. Oddly enough, I think the Mountain West team I would compare them to the most is a team they will play at some point on the road, and that's Air Force. Ground game, physicality, cold weather state. Though Air Force plays outside and North Dakota State does not. Which I think is kind of a shame, given the level of power football that they enjoy up there. Anyway, they will have road games at Air Force. That's tough. That is a difficult place to go. Everybody in the Mountain West knows that. They have to go to Hawaii. I'm going to circle back to that game in a moment. They have to go to New Mexico. I wouldn't want to play against Jason Eck right now. They have to go to UNLV. And again, we don't know the timing of these games yet. We just know the opponents. We know the opponent that everybody misses. And North Dakota State is, on the one hand, being dealt a slate of home games that will give their fans, I think, plenty to cheer for. And all the Nevada, NIU, and UTEP and Wyoming fans that watch this show, however many of their English is hard. However many of you there are that tune into this show regularly, maybe you're doing it for the first time, go ahead and subscribe if you're so inclined. Give me all the hate in the comments below. But if they go 4-0 in those games, I don't see why they wouldn't be capable of getting a split. These are tough games. My Mountain West power rankings right now, if I were to give you a loose one, I think UNLV's on top at number 1. I'm putting Hawaii in there at number 2. And New Mexico's probably there at number 3. And heck, Air Force might be number 4. But we will get a chance to find out. North Dakota State, can you imagine? At least one of those games that's on the road is going to be later in the year, right? They can't all be stacked early on. The Bison coming in and just making this sort of splash and making everybody in the group of 6 that's pushing for a playoff spot look around and go, these guys are Mountain West. What do you do? That could be exciting. That could be exciting. Going from the great state of North Dakota to Hawaii, Bison fans, get ready to either learn what your frequent flyer number is or how late you're willing to stay up to watch North Dakota State play football. The rest of the Mountain West, geographically, it makes perfect sense. But Hawaii's always the one. They're a good team this past year. You know, Hawaii started last season with a win against the ACC and ended the season with a win against the ACC. Both were on their home field. And the Bison have to go there in 2026. What a world to live in. So I'm excited for North Dakota State. I'm excited to watch this all play out. And more than a little intrigued to see how close are they in year 1 to contending for a conference championship? Because I think the home games are going to be doable, and then they'll have a bunch of road tests. And I tell you what, Mountain West, let me just throw this out there right now. If North Dakota State rolls in and starts winning right away, look out. Look out for the Bison. Leave your thoughts in the YouTube comments below. Hit me up on Twitter, however you want to get in touch. Chandler Morris wants to come back. I am going to rain on his parade. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the NBA standings and saying, I know who's coming out of these leagues as the conference champions when it's all said and done. The Pistons are breaking through. My Blazers are going to probably not surge in the West because Shaedon Sharpe got hurt. If you think the Timberwolves are breaking through, the Thunder are running it back, even without my guy Jalen Williams, Santa Clara alum, whatever you're feeling, FanDuel's got you covered. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. This episode also brought to you by our friends over at TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life, folks. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. Huge time saver. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. That's TurboTax.com/local. You may choose to label me a negative Nancy, Debbie Downer, or whatever other clever nickname, if we want to call it that, you may for this next segment. I do not particularly care. Chandler Morris should not get a 7th season of college football eligibility. Let me give you a list of quarterbacks. I'm not going to tell you, but you're probably going to have an idea of what I'm getting at here, of who exactly is or was in the same quarterback class as Chandler Morris. Bryce Young, DJ Uiagalelei, CJ Stroud, Hudson Card, Haynes King, Ethan Garbers, there's a Pac-12 throwback name, Anthony Richardson, Jaden DeLora. There's another Pac-12 throwback name. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Chandler Morris got 3 freshman seasons. COVID year didn't count. He barely played at Oklahoma. Then he goes to TCU, and he redshirts, only playing in 4 games. And then he plays his redshirt freshman season in his 3rd season of college football. He plays 4 games. Then in 2023 at TCU, he plays in 7 games. Then he goes to North Texas. He tears it up. Builds some confidence. Over 3,700 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 12 picks. He parlays that success to go to Virginia, where the Cavaliers were quite literally 1 win from the college football playoff as a participant of the ACC championship game. Now, I'm not entirely clear what case Chandler Morris is trying to make. He's been turned away. He's now going to try and sue the NCAA. I don't care for this. There are legitimate examples, as I've talked about with Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss, for instance, where I look and say, okay, there's an actual medical redshirt here. Like there's a situation where a guy missed an entire season because of an injury. Chandler Morris doesn't have that. And with the way it's gone so far, it seems like he's going to be denied. But this Trent Chandler Morris, trying to do some quick math in my head, I believe he's 23 going on 24 years old. He's 24. should not be a college football player 24 years old. It's just, this is not one that I am on board with whatsoever. He had 3 freshman seasons. Yep, COVID's a once-in-a-century thing. You got to act out. Okay. But there's nothing about this trajectory. Obviously, he and his legal team feel differently. But I think this is just a classic case of a guy who has had success in college and would be successful again if he went back to play for Tony Elliott's Cavaliers and Virginia, who wildly outperformed my expectations this past year, largely on the back of Chandler Morris's play. I mean, not entirely. They had a well-rounded team, but he was a 3,000-yard passer. He didn't throw for a ton of touchdowns, but he did a lot for him. He did a lot. And so for him to probably get the feedback from the NFL of, yeah, we're not taking you in the early rounds. We're not even drafting you. You can be an undrafted free agent somewhere. I mean, for goodness sake, last year I watched Max Brosmer start a game for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, that's a testament to how bad the Vikings were with their quarterback situation last year, beginning with the fact that J.J. McCarthy is not an NFL quarterback. But anyway, bringing this back to the college football show. If you're not good enough to even be seen as Max Brosmer, man, you might just need to make other plans. Or you know what? They unveiled some new rule changes in the UFL. The CFL is out there. These are all options if you want to keep playing football. But this is the quintessential example of a guy who I do not want to see get another year of eligibility. Or else what exactly are we doing here? Or else when does this stop becoming, or when does this stop being, rather, college sports? I know plenty of you think it's already not college sports. No, it still is. And look, I'm not some giant NCAA defender. I have come on here and torn them to shreds several times for the way they've acted in a variety of different cases. On this particular instance, though, they are correct to say, no, he's had his eligibility. He's maxed it out. To go back and say, I would imagine the nature of the argument is going to be, well, he only played 4 games in 2022. That should count as another red shirt, and you're depriving him of the opportunity because that was pre-NIL, and that shouldn't count for all this. Like, this is why, as I have said, and continue to believe it would be beneficial for the sport, and you can get rid of cases like this, and we could focus less on court cases and more on actual college football and whatnot. Crazy concept, I know. They should move to just a blanket 5 years of eligibility. And yes, there's a downside to that. Players who have multiple seasons derailed by injury are going to be deprived of opportunities to play college football they might have otherwise had. As much as I think that would suck for a couple of guys, this is the sort of situation. I just don't want this to continue to be normalized, where you just keep suing for a guy to get another year, that when you look at his career trajectory, you go, yeah, okay, no. C.J. Stroud's been a starter in the NFL for several years. Bryce Young has been a starter in the NFL for multiple seasons. Let's get on with it here. So if Virginia is pinning their quarterback hopes on Chandler Morris returning, might not be the season the Cavaliers were hoping for going into next year. So leave your thoughts in the comments below. Curious to hear what you guys have to say, but this is a pretty clear-cut case of, no, we don't have 5 years of eligibility in a blanket variety, so you've played out your college football career. It's got to come to an end. I am on the NCAA's side in this one. Is there there was a team in the Big 12 that was almost a surprise, and then I almost had them picked perfectly at the end of the year.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. South Carolina rolled past Ole Miss 85-48 to clinch a share of the SEC regular season title and lock down the number 1 seed in the conference tournament. The Gamecocks extended their win streak over Ole Miss to 21 straight. UCLA dominated Wisconsin 80-60 to secure its first outright Big Ten regular season championship in program history. The Bruins improved to 27-1 overall and remain unbeaten in conference play. And number 12 TCU stormed back from a 13-point fourth quarter deficit to beat Iowa State 80-73. The Horned Frogs now sit alone atop the Big 12 standings and are one win away from clinching another regular season conference crown. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
This episode also brought to you by our friends at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. Well, when the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. When you need the right person, you want Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Go there right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Do you remember a time where the Big 12 was truly a chaos conference? Until we'd fully accepted and internalized, oh, okay, Texas Tech is just better than everybody else, which they were. Do you remember who was sitting at 7-1 going into a top 25 showdown in Salt Lake City? Do you remember who that team was? Who could it have been? Ah, yes. The Cincinnati Bearkats were almost a surprise team in 2025. Almost. They were for what? They were the new hot thing. And Brendan Sorsby was rolling. He didn't turn the ball over. He was playing great. And then all of a sudden, they hit the back half of their schedule and it went upside down like pineapple cake. You know, you get what I'm going for there. Utah beats them by 31. Arizona beats them at their place by 6. And then BYU beats them by 12. And TCU beats them by 22. And Navy beats them by 22. And it was bad. And Brendan Sorsby said, I'm out of here. Done. I'm over this Cincinnati experiment. Not going to have it. So the Bearcats went to the portal, and they added 2 quarterbacks, a guy from Penn by the name of Liam O'Brien, and a guy who I suspect will be their starter that comes over from Georgia Southern. Don't confuse it with Georgia State, J.C. French IV. Now, J.C. has been serviceable. He has led the Clay Helton coach program. Don't forget that name. Another Pac-12 legendary names just coming up all over today's show. Is that a coincidence? Maybe not. He's won games with him. He's been statistically fine. About a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. That worries me. That worries me, making a jump up to the Big 12 a little bit. I don't think he's as good as Brendan Sorsby. But I tell you what, last year, I picked Cincinnati. I had them, went back and double-checked my notes. I had them preseason power rated as my number 12 team in the Big 12. They finished 11th in the conference standings. Not bad. Now, I thought I was way off. I thought that I was so far off, and I felt so bad about it. because I had mentioned the idea Cincinnati could just bottom out. I've been dogging them for a couple of years. Like, we're just waiting for Scott Satterfield to walk out the door. We're just waiting for the day, and that day hasn't arisen. And they were right there in the Big 12 discussion. They play one of the most hilarious games to begin the year, just because of what I think it could entail. If Cincinnati loses their first game, which is Boston College, I truly believe they could finish last place. I think that's the sort of game that could just send you downhill. They open with 4 straight at home. That's good for them. Boston College, Western Carolina, Miami of Ohio, not the Miami Hurricanes, and Kansas State. Colin Klein. Interesting. Then the gauntlet is unveiled, and this is why I'm unless reports come out of Cincinnati spring practice that J.C. French is just tearing it up, and he looks better than Brendan Sorsby ever did, and they've got a great running game once again, which was not so secret to their success from this past year. They have one of the toughest schedules in the entire Big 12. So if you're looking for a surprise team, downgrade at quarterback, increase in schedule strength, I don't think Cincinnati is that team. They open at Arizona. They open with Kansas State. They open for their first road game of the year at Arizona on October 3rd. Some teams just finagle their way into not playing road games for a long time. Cincinnati's one of those teams. That's just the way it is. Looks like it'll be a neutral site game against Miami of Ohio. Why? Because people make bad decisions in life. Anyway, at Arizona, bye. At West Virginia, I think Rich Rodriguez is going to get that thing moving forward. If you thought that was the hard part, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. Texas Tech, Utah, at Houston, at Iowa State, Colorado, they'll be improved, at BYU, bye. That's what I have to say to that. The Big 12 surprise or conference championship arrival, or the idea of, no, Sorsby was the one holding them back. I'm telling you right now, I'm out. I'm down, and I'm out on Cincinnati. You have to play 3 of your last 4 without a bye on the road. And those road games are Houston, Iowa State, BYU. Now, Iowa State's not going to be very good. They might be the worst team in the Big 12. We'll see what Jimmy Rogers says. He's pledged that not going to be last. Not going to be last. That could be a battle for last place in the Big 12. Sad state of affairs for those programs, but yeah, among the Big 12 schedules, Cincinnati, one of the toughest. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.